Oh, yeah, okay. Let's go test the items real quick in a custom game. I want to see something that is it's just gonna break the game, or it's gonna make it like completely useless. So we're gonna go here, create, add. Actually, let me add my mod real quick, and we'll test it real quick. All right. So, what I want to test is if my turret's auto attacks procs Deathfire Grass. Let me just auto attack her. Does that not proc? Do the auto attacks not proc it? Your damaging abilities. Only abilities. Okay, so let's see here. Doesn't seem to proc it. But let's see when the laser hits what happens. The laser procs it. Okay. Alright. Okay, leave. Got it. So turret's auto attacks don't proc it. Let's try the other thing real quick. There we go. Alright, so Thunderlord's Decree. 3 auto attacks, and it procs a lightning. Let's see how much damage it does early game. So it does 10 damage, not that much, but it's not terrible. And I have to wait for Thunderlord's Decree to come right back up.
Heimer's auto attack animation is real clunky.
Alright, so let's try the turret's auto attack. Let's go. Nope. When the laser hits, I'm gonna test something. Alright, 1. Yeah, so the laser counts as 1, auto attacks don't count. Okay. Okay, leave. Let's do a little rundown from what I've learned so far with the Masteries. Pretty much the Ferocity tree, you should always know what side you're going on. You know, if you need the attack speed, you go the attack speed. If you're a spellcaster, then you get the spellcast. And let's just open up a new page here. So let's say you're an AD carry, or a physical damage dealing champion, or even someone like Diana or Kale. It's not an AD carry or physical damage. You do a lot of magic damage, but you rely on attack speed to do your magic damage. You go Fury. If not, you go Sorcery. Okay. So let's just pick whatever right here, so we can keep on going. Double-edged sword versus Feast. You can either pick one or the other. I used to like Feast a lot back in season 4, or sorry, back in season 5, because it didn't really had no cooldown. You would just get the health and mana back every single CS you kill, so it would reward you for CSing really well. This is kind of gonna always be there. You're gonna kill a unit, you're gonna get 20 health. 20-second cooldown, it's really, to me, it doesn't seem that efficient, and I wouldn't really go Feast. But if you don't want double-edged sword, like if you're a ranged champion that takes a lot of damage, then you probably won't want to get double-edged sword. But if you're a melee, obviously you deal 3% additional damage, but you only take an additional 1.5. That's pretty good for melees. So let's say let's say we're Echo here. So we're getting the spell damage, we're getting the increased melee damage. We're gonna keep going down the tree here. Now, this is something that I had like a little bit of a discussion with my stream, is that natural talent versus vampirism. Obviously, natural talent seems to be the better pick here because it's a lot of AD, it's a lot of AP, but it's a scaling mastery. So you're gonna get 10 AD and 15 AP by level 18. Will it be? Is this a really important mastery? Not really, for the early game at least. And in my opinion, the early game is really important. And it dictates the pace of how the game goes. By level 18, the game should be over anyway. So I personally like vampirism if you're an auto attack reliant champion, or you have any sort of single target spells, Vladimir, even Pantheon, because you'd be life stealing off your auto attacks, stuff like that. I'd rather go for the early game stuff. But anyway, if you don't really need vampirism, then obviously natural talent would be good. It's also really good on hybrid champions like Akali, Jax, just because it gives you both stats. Kale gives you the AD and gives you the AP, so it's solid. Now we're gonna talk about Bounty Hunter versus Oppressor. Oppressor is one of those champions, or one of those masteries that it's really good on certain champions and almost useless on other champions. So let's say I'm playing Heimerdinger and I buy a Rylai's. The people that I'm attacking are going to be slowed for 100% of the time. So this is a flat 2.5 increased damage, right? If you're playing a champion that has no CC, no slows, no taunts, snares, all that stuff, you're not really going to be using this, and it'd be probably better off to go Bounty Hunter, which gives you 1% increased damage for each unique champion you kill. If you're a Rengar, for example, and you're going to go around ganking every lane, and you kill each champion once, then you're going to have 5% increased damage for the whole game after that point, after you kill each one once. So you really got to think about, does your champion use Oppressor like really well? Do you have a lot of CC and slows and stuff like that? So let's go to Battering Blows here. This one's really obvious. You either go the Magic Pen or you go the armor pen. So simple. I'm making like an echo page here, so obviously we're gonna go with the presser. You have the stun, your Q slows, your passive slows, so you know it's just more consistent. This is like you don't have to kill every single champion once to get the 5% from Bounty Hunter. And then obviously we're gonna go Magic Pen. If you're physical damage, you go Armor Pen. Really simple. And now let's talk about these beautiful little keystones, they're calling it. Warlord's Bloodlust. This is what, in my opinion, is making Yasuo really broken right now in the preseason. Gangplank, Tryndamere even. I've seen a lot of Tryndameres do well, and they've just stomped. It's been incredibly hard to like shut them down. Not only does it heal you for 15% of the damage, it also gives you 20% attack speed for 4 seconds on a 2-second cooldown. So that attack speed is going to be up permanently, as long as you're critting and hitting, right? I think it's a little too strong. If you rely on crits, if you're an AD carry, get this shit. It's really good. So let's move on. Fervor of Battle. Your basic attacks and spells grant you a stack of Fervor for 5 seconds, max 10 stacks. Each stack adds 1 to 8 bonus physical damage based on your level. Against champions. So champions like Kayle, Jax, stuff that like will be attacking constantly and will be skirmishing a lot, are really gonna benefit from this. And I've tried it on Kayle. It felt really strong. It gives you a whole lot of bonus physical damage to your basic attacks. So at the end of the day, spells and attacks do proc and get you stacks. But what it does for you is it increases your physical attack damage by a flat amount. So a champion that has a lot of attack speed is going to benefit from this, which is why I mentioned those like Jax and Kayle. I'm not really sure. I haven't really thought about what else it would be good on, but I'm sure there are some other champions that nobody really plays right now in this meta that might rise to the meta, so to speak. We're gonna keep going here. Death Fire Touch. This is something I've seen every single person take. Whether they know how much it does, whether they don't, they just look at this like, that's so much damage, that's always proccing, I'm gonna pick it up. And it's actually not that much. If you're an AP champion, from what I've seen, it doesn't provide you too much damage. Your damage abilities cause enemy champions to take 6 plus 50% of your bonus AD, this is the big part, and 20% of your ability power and magic damage over 3 seconds. Area of effect and damage over time, apply half this damage over 1.5 seconds. So, the difference here is that, let's say I'm Heimerdinger, and or my champion's Heimerdinger. I mean, I could be Heimerdinger, really, you guys don't know. And so, all my abilities are AoE, which means they're going to be proccing a lot, so they're going to be proccing this Deathfire Touch a lot, but it's only going to do half the damage in half the duration. It's going to be the same DPS for 1.5 seconds, and it's going to stop. And if you keep proccing it, then it's as if there's no DPS change versus single target and AoE spells. Does that make sense? I feel like it's still good on AoE champions, as long as you can constantly proc the AoE spells. On burst AoE champions, no good, in my opinion, because it only procs for 1.5 seconds, and the efficiency is cut in half. Now, what I really like this on are champions that build a lot of flat bonus physical damage, or champions that have a lot of innate bonus physical damage. So Zed, for example, his W gives him a percentage to max like AD, right? So if you build Bloodthirster, like Hydra, the new item that gives him Spell Vamp and shit like that, this is going to be a really good Keystone. It's going to add so much damage, and plus your Ignite, plus your Ultimate, all these things are going to be proccing this constantly. And all your bonus physical attack damage. Sorry, I keep saying physical damage, but I mean attack damage. Is gonna make this do a lot more damage. So let's go to Cunning here. Wanderer, really solid if you are going to be roaming a lot. If you're a support that roams a lot, and Savagery is just one of the abilities. Motherfucker, cut. So let's go on to Cunning. Wanderer is more of a, you want to roam around, you want to help other lanes, you want to move from place to place mastery, where Savagery is like, you want a lane, you want to be able to get every single last hit. If you're an AP champion like Xerath, you don't always want to use your Q or your W or whatever's like mana hungry spells to last hit, and sometimes you want to freeze the lane, but this will help you last hit a little bit more effectively. It could also you could also argue that it helps you push because it does more damage, so your auto attacks do more damage. And I would obviously take this if I'm going jungle because you do more damage to monsters. So anyone who takes like attack speed, like Master Yi in the jungle, this would help them a lot. And yeah, so Wander is more of like a roaming around. If you're going to support, that might roam Alistar, stuff like that. Let's move on here. Runic Affinity. Buffs granted by jungle monsters last 15% longer, including epic monsters. This includes the Rift Herald. So, if you're a top laner with a lot of pressure and you think that you could, potentially get the Rift Herald for your lane with your jungler, this might be a master that you want to grab. Like for example, Heimerdinger can easily do the Rift Herald, and so I always go Runic Affinity on Heimerdinger because you can actually like use the turret to tank and hit him at like the back of the eye. It does a lot of damage, stuff like that. There's so many different combinations of champions, and you really have to work with your jungler on getting it. But that plus, if you're a mid laner who's gonna get blue buff, it also works on Baron buff, and the 5th dragon. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is really, really solid overall mastery. Other than that, Secret Stash is the potion and elixir lasting 10% longer mastery, and it also gives you that instant 20 health and 10 mana every time you use a potion. I haven't really bought it. Potions are up now to 50 gold instead of 35 gold per HP potion, so I don't know. I haven't really tried it or tested it out, but I know that it's still really solid because it increases your potions and flasks by 10% longer. So if you're going to be buying the new refillable potions that they have, if you've checked them out and you really want them, then Secret Stash might be pretty good, especially if you don't need blue buff or you're going to use Runic Affinity anyway. So we'll go there, and we're going to move on here. Merciless deals 1% increased damage to champions below 40% life, or 40% health. Obviously this is really, really good if you're a champion that all of the strength of the champion is to kill another champion. So assassins, burst champions, poke champions, AD carries, for example, are going to really need this for the late game. Versus meditation, which just gives you a passive mana regeneration of your missing mana every 5 seconds. This is actually decent, but it's not that much. It's not like over the top. Wow, my champion really needs mana. I'm just gonna go meditation. I'm gonna be fine. The problem with this is that you need to be missing your mana, and very rarely is everyone just at like the lowest mana that they can get to make this very efficient. If you're just laning, you're just CSing, you're overall going through the jungle as a jungler, you're never at like 0 mana to make this really efficient. But if you do find yourself playing a champion and you are really low mana all the time and you need this for the early game, mid game, or even late game, then definitely pick it up. Other than that, I honestly think Merciless is better for any type of damage dealing champion. Let's keep going here. Again, I like how they separated this Bandit versus Dangerous game. Bandit is one of the masteries that supports would use this, right? Because it gives you 1 gold for each nearby minion killed by your allied champions. And obviously a support will be sitting there with their AD carry or with whoever they're supporting, and they'll be last hitting, so they'll be getting 1 gold for each one of those minions. That's really good. You also get 3 gold or 10 gold if you're melee by hitting another champion with a spell or attack. The key here is that it's now a spell or attack. So Gangplank, for example, in the top lane can use this and use his parlay, and he'll get 10 gold every time he parlays an enemy champion every 5 seconds. That's really solid. Sports can obviously use this really well as well. Sports would get this regardless of that passive. I'm pretty sure the 1 gold for each nearby minion is enough. And then there's Dangerous Game. Champion kills and assists restore 5% of your missing HP and mana. I like how they divided this versus like a sport versus like a solo lane kind of thing. It makes the decision very easy. But there are some niche champions that I think can work with Bandit. Gangplank being one of those ones that I think, in my opinion, can use this to get the extra gold. But I mean, Dangerous Game is a really, really nice mastery. I wouldn't give it up if I didn't have to. Precision here gains 3 plus 0.03 per level armor and magic penetration. What I like about this is that it gives 3 flat armor and magic penetration, and it's not just like a full scaling mastery. It's not just like 0.5 armor and magic pen per level all the way to level 18. It gives you some flat, so you can kind of feel this in the early game. It's not that much, and late game is really when it starts to shine. When you're level 18 and you have other armor pen items, you have Void Staff, you have these things that that synergize well with the flat armor pen or magic pen. I really wouldn't go this unless you really don't need the cooldown reduction. I think the cooldown reduction, flat cooldown reduction 5% plus increasing your cap is just the increasing your cap is just a bonus on the cooldown reduction. But 5% cooldown reduction alone is pretty good in my opinion. Most champions can use cooldown reduction. If you don't need cooldown reduction and you'd rather have the hybrid armor and magic penetration, more power to you. I would only see going precision on champions like Jax or Kali, something that does physical and a lot of magic damage as well. So they can use both the armor and magic pen, if that makes sense. Then you go hybrid marks in your reds for runes, and you'd actually do a lot of armor and magic penetration. Other than that, I think that intelligence is one of those masteries that people haven't really figured out how strong it is. Let me lower the music. I think the music's a little bit too loud. I can barely talk to you guys. So, 45% cooldown reduction. Like, the game is balanced around champions being able to get a 40% cooldown reduction cap, and 45% could mean the difference between having a Morgana perma black shield someone or have like a 1 second downtime, something like that. And that's a really big deal. You could see the difference between Riven players right now when they go 45% cooldown reduction. You feel like they're uncatchable. They're always hopping around. They're always doing so much damage, and so it's like, I don't think people have figured out how good intelligence is right now. Riot kind of changed how expensive Morellonomicon Grail is, so it's hard to get that on burst champions, burst AP champions. But I think if you go Nashor's Tooth, which is 20% cooldown reduction, you go Boots of Lucidity, 10% cooldown reduction, and then Lichbane, there's another 10% cooldown reduction, that's 40% right there. So champions like Diana, for example, who can benefit from Nashor's and Lichbane together, has a very easy way to get the 45% cooldown reduction cap and use this mastery really, really efficiently. Think about something like this on Zillion as well. The ultimate is just so low. So it really depends on the champion. If you need the hybrid penetration, obviously go for precision. If not, really, really think about ways to make intelligence benefit you. And you gotta think outside the box with this mastery. I really do think you gotta. There's too many variables that you gotta think of, but you just gotta wait. You'll see in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people are gonna be hating on this master, thinking it's OP. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. It could be totally balanced. So let's go on to these crazy keystones here. Dealing 30% of a champion's max health within 2 seconds grants you 35% move speed for 3 seconds. 10% cooldown. 10 second cooldown is actually not that much. And the reason is, most champions go in, they burst, and they go out, and then another skirmish just happens, and this will be up by the next skirmish because only 10 second cooldown. Champions like Talon, who can go in, burst someone for 30% of their max HP really quickly, whether it's a second or a second and a half or half a second or instantly, and then get that movement speed to either secure the kill or get out, they're really going to benefit from Storm Raider. I also think someone like Akali might benefit from this because you Q someone on Akali, you wait for your charge to, come back on your Q, and then you ult in, you auto attack, you Q them, you auto attack, you have that movement speed. If they flash away, you can just run after them, you don't have to use another ult charge, stuff like that. So this is really going to change the dynamic of a lot of matchups and a lot of other champions. But what you really need for this mastery to work, burst, a lot of burst. 30% of a champion's max HP is quite a bit, unless you're against squishy champions who don't have much max HP. And the 35% move speed that you get is huge. I've seen it, really, really solid stuff. And yeah, so it's kind of like, it doesn't provide you damage, but if your champion already has all the damage you need, really, really good. LeBlanc, for example. Let's think about, let's say, what would LeBlanc go? Would LeBlanc go Deathfire Touch? Maybe, because she has some single target damage, but LeBlanc is more of a burst champion, so all of her damage goes in at once. This is damage over time. This is like a Leandri's passive almost. So I could see Storm Raider Surge being used on LeBlanc. You'd go in, you'd hit your QRE, you'd get a lot of move speed. Maybe you can connect with the E or juke around, or there's so many different things you could do with that move speed. Next, we'll have Thunderlord's Decree up here. Your third attack or spell an enemy champion shocks the area around them, dealing 10 damage per level, plus 20% of your bonus AD and 10% of your AP as magic damage. So it's very similar to this Keystone right here, where it's a damaging ability. based on your bonus AD and your flat AP. You gotta understand, because it's bonus AD. It's not your total AD, but it is your total AP. What I really like about this is it deals 10 damage per level. Once you get to the higher levels, this will be doing 200 damage just like base. If you have like no AD, no AP, it'll do 180, but usually you'll have some sort of AP or AD. And it's a 30-second cooldown. Any spells that hit kind of like, it like leaves a little bit of a mark. If you auto attack, you throw a spell, you auto attack again, this will proc. If you're a Kali, you throw your Q, you dash in, you ult, and then you auto attack. That's 3 things right there. That'll proc it. Stuff like that. On Heimerdinger, for example, your missiles, you shoot out 5 missiles with your W. If you hit 3 of the missiles, it procs Thunderlord's Decree. So this is a very solid mastery on certain champions if you can find that synergy between it. You really have to think 30-second cooldown is a very long time. It's a very, very long cooldown. And in lane, you can see the procs going every like 40 seconds, 50 seconds, as long as you're fighting constantly, you're harassing the enemy. So it's really solid in laning phase. And later in the game, the damage becomes so substantial that it can add to your burst combo. Now, Wind Speaker's Blessing. This is one of the things that this is one of the mastery points that I like theory crafting a lot on this. This makes Soraka so good, especially with the Grievous Wound Changers. It kind of blows my mind how good this is. Your heals and shields are 10% stronger, so just a flat buff to all champions that have heals and shields that would use this. And additionally, your shields and heals increase your target's resistances by 15% for 3 seconds. Only when you use this on someone other than yourself. So you can't play Karma and go a bunch of tank items and then shield yourself and expect yourself to have more resistance. No, you have to shield someone else. You can play Karma and then use your ultimate to shield everybody at once, and I think that this would give them all 15% more resistances, and it would make your shield 10% stronger. Soraka ult, for example, if you ult everybody and they all get healed, they'll get 15% extra resistances, your heals will be 10% stronger. Really, really, really solid mastery on most supports. Janna, Soraka, Nami, Karma, all these champions that use shields and heals, you're gonna go Wind Speaker Blessing. There's not much else you can go here. We're gonna talk about tanky sports later on when we go to Resolve. So, let's talk about Resolve. We got Recovery, so let me just take points off here so I can... Bam, bam, bam. We got Recovery here. A flat 2 health regen per 5. It's honestly not that much, but if you're not gonna use the bonus armor and magic resist from Unyielding, you might as well go Recovery, right? If the champion that you usually play and the build path that you usually go has no bonus armor and magic resist, if you don't build Abyssal, if you don't build Zhonya's, all these items that have flat armor and magic resist, this is gonna be useless. If you're a champion that builds tank items, great, because this is gonna affect you really, really well. The thing is, people look at this and say bonus armor and magic resist. Wow, that's huge. No, if your champion has 100 base armor and like 60 base MR, this is gonna do nothing for it. You have to buy items that give you armor and magic resist to make this point worth it. So there's that. Sometimes I go Recovery on Heimerdinger because usually I just go full damage. I just go Glass Cannon. Obviously, if I'm trying really, really hard, I'm trying to win, I would be going Zhonya's, I would be going Abyssal, beginning Resist, and Unyielding would be a very solid mastery point to take. Now comes the Explorer versus Tough Skin debate that I see a lot of people talk about. Tough Skin is you take 2 less damage from champion and monster basic attacks. So if you're jungling, this is solid. If you're laning against an opponent that has a lot of auto attack harass, that has a lot of basic attack harass, pretty much, if you're against the fucking Caitlyn mid lane, for example, or Quinn top, or Heimerdinger even, who auto attacks you a lot, Tough Skin is really important. Explorer is really, really good if you're not really about the laning phase, if you're about running around, if you're about ganking. I would say 12% movement speed in bushes and rivers. I don't think that's on junglers. I don't think that's worth the healthiness. But if you find yourself super healthy and you don't need the tankiness from this Tough Skin, then I would definitely go Explorer. It just helps your ganks. You'd move around the map faster and you'd be able to gank more efficiently. So definitely would take Explorer if you don't need Tough Skin for laning. If you're not against someone who auto attacks you a lot. Oh, sorry, I said plus 12 or plus 12%. This is just plus 12 flat, so it's not 12%. It's just plus 12 flat. It's not as much as you think it is. But yeah, so this kind of depends. If you're into the laning phase and you're against a really tough opponent who's going to be using auto attacks on you, tough skin. If not, you know, Explorer is obviously the decision, or the right decision there. So let's move on here. Runic Armor. This is one of the most interesting masteries I've seen so far. 8% bonus to all shields and healing on you, and it's only on you. So if you're Soraka, if you're Janna, and you shield and heal other people, this does not do anything for that. This does not increase those shields and heals. Only if you shield yourself, if you're healing, getting any sorts of healing. That includes lifesteal, regeneration, skills, everything. So, for example, champion that has a really high base HP regen, Darius, Scion, Heimerdinger, all these champions have really high base HP regen on their kit. This would be really good because it increases their HP regen by 8%. Champion like Riven, for example, who has a really nice shield, this could also benefit her. Stuff like that. It's for bonus for yourself. Versus Veteran Scars, 4% of your total health, plus 4% of your total health. So you're just getting that flat bonus, really solid. If you're a mid laner that's going some sort of health like Rod of Ages. If you're a top lane bruiser that's going to buy tanky items, and you're going to get like more than 2.5k HP, which most people do nowadays, Veteran Scars is really, really solid. If you're a support that's going to stack HP, Veteran Scars is really solid. You're a jungler that goes Cinderhulk, you're always going Veteran Scars in these cases, guys. It's almost always better than Runic Armor in that case. Also, stuff like Runic Armor would be really good on Galio, because he actually has a heal, and he has a shield. I'm not sure if the shield part works, because it says bonus to all shields, and Galio's shield doesn't have a particular health. I'm also not sure if this works on Morgana's shield, because I know that Morgana's shield does have a health, but does it increase the amount of, like, how much Morgana's shield is? I think it should, personally, because it doesn't say otherwise, but I haven't really tested all this stuff. It's just kind of like, I'm kind of trying to give you guys the overview, so you guys can decide and make your own rune pages to fit your playstyle and your champion pick, and who you're against, and what kind of team composition that you have. So, we'll go here, and now, Insight versus Perseverance. Your summoner spells have 15% reduced cooldown. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid in almost all champions, all roles, whether you're support, AD carry, mid laner, top laner, jungler. Insight is really, really good. The question is, are you gonna make use of Perseverance or not? That's really what it comes down to. 15% additional or reduced cooldown from this mastery, plus buying Boots of Lucidity, which is another 10%. That's 25% reduced cooldown on your summoner spells. Very, very awesome. But many champions cannot throw away Perseverance. Excuse me. 50% health regen increased to 200% when you're below 20% health. For a person that has very high HP regen, like I said earlier, base HP regen, Scion, Heimerdinger. I know Gnar has very low HP regen, but when he's in Big Gnar, he has very high HP regen. You have to go through the wiki to find who has really high base HP regen to make use of Perseverance. Again, this is plus 50% health regen, increased 200%, but it's not of your total health regen. If you build like a lot of Warmogs that has a lot of health regen, you build all these items, this does not increase the total. This only increases the base. So your base HP regen. It doesn't really matter about what your items are. It's always going to be a flat amount, depending on who your champion is and what their level is. So don't be fooled by this. It's not as good as you think on a lot of champions, but it is solid on some champions. So we'll say that. Check the wiki page, sort it by HP regen, and see who can actually use Perseverance effectively. And if not, I honestly think Insight is too solid to give away. Let's go to Swiftness here. 15% tenacity and slow resist. This is one of the masteries that it just depends on who the enemy team has. Do they have a lot of slows? Do they have a lot of stuns? Do they have a lot of CC that you're gonna probably build Merc Treads or QSS or whatever? You guys understand what I'm saying here. If they do, you go Swiftness. If they don't, you're most likely gonna go Legendary Guardian if you're a tank champion and you're going this far into the tree anyway. 3 armor and magic resist for each nearby enemy champion is quite a bit. In a team fight, if you're 5v5ing, that's gonna be 15 armor and magic resist for a few points in the mastery, so it's really solid. I don't know the range. I don't know how close the enemies have to be to make this worth it, but it just seems like it's very enemy team comp dependent, whether you're going to go the tenacity and slow resist, or you're just going to go for the flat armor and magic resist. So yeah, there's that. Now here is where I think Riot is really spicing the game up. Grasp of the Undying. Every 4 seconds in combat, your next attack against an enemy champion steals life equal to 3% of your max health. Halved for ranged champions, so it'd be 1.5% for ranged champions. Honestly, this doesn't seem terrible. The only few champions that I could see this really working on would be like stuff like Garen. Something that you're going to stack so much max HP that you steal the enemy's HP and give it to you based on your max HP. So Volibear, Garen, Mundo, these kind of tanky DPS champions that are melee, because remember it's halved for range. I don't think it'd be worth it for a ranged champion at all. So there's that. Every 4 seconds in combat is short. If you're fighting and you're a tanky champion, you're constantly proccing this off in a team fight, for example. It could be also good for Nasus. The list goes on and on. I haven't really thought about all the champions, but I'm just kind of throwing some that are on top of my head. Think about just whatever champions you really like to play, just think about it. Think about, hey, would this be good? I'm just going to try to explain to the best of my ability, of course, what I've seen in game so far. Strength of the Aegis, large monsters and siege minions that you or your nearby allies kill grant you 20 and 10 permanent health respectively. So large monsters give you 20, I think. Siege minions give you 10. So obviously this is better for junglers who are constantly killing large monsters and getting 20. Zac would be really good. This is pretty much any Cinderhulk jungler. You would go Strength of Aegis almost always, because you just get 300 max HP added, and after reaching the max bonus, another more after killing siege minions after that point, you just restore 100 HP. So it's a nice little bonus. It's not too crazy, but 300 health is quite a bit for a mastery point. Tahm Kench, for example, jungle Tahm Kench would be really solid with strength of Aegis. Volibear again. Who's the champion that I just said? Zac would be really good as well. The list goes on. I don't really have all of them on top of my head. 4% damage reduction from Bond of Stone, flat, is really solid on almost any tanky support. I would go Bond of Stone, especially because when you're near an ally, it doubles to 8%. This just means you constantly have an 8% damage reduction. I feel like people don't understand. Like these passives will change. Each mastery point will maybe make your character stronger by like 0.5%. This is 8% damage reduction flat when you're near an ally. Unbelievable. And they also, when near an ally, this bonus is doubled. They also would take from the champions dealt to you instead. Holy moly. Sorry, I had a problem reading that, but now I think I understand. 8% of what the ally that you are with, 8% of their damage, I think, is given to you instead. So not only do you have 8% damage reduction, but you're going to be making your AD carry, or whoever you're with, or if you're a jungler, the lane that you gank for, you're going to make them 8% tankier by absorbing their damage. So you really do have to be a tanky champion to make Bond of Stone work. Cannot reduce you below 15% health. I actually just read that right now. Sorry guys, I'm getting super sleepy. I've been streaming for like 12 hours today. I'm still going through these masteries. Kind of crazy. So what I really like about this is can't reduce you below 15%. So if you're 10% life and your AD carry is fighting right next to you, but you're not getting hit and your AD carry is getting hit, you're going to reduce 8% of that damage that your AD carry is taking, and you're not going to take any of it because you're lower than 15% life. That's really solid. So guys, I know I haven't really given you any nice mastery pages. Hey, for this champion you go 18 here, 12 here. But I just wanted to talk about each and every mastery point respectively, and the decision that you make, because you can't really, you can go 3, in one part and go 2 in the other, but usually you just want to go 5, or you pick the keystone here, and you usually want to go 5. It's very rare that you'll want to be mixing it up, but just remember that you can. Just remember that you can put 3 here, 2 here, and mix it up like that. So there is that. Another point that I want to mention is I'll probably just go over my favorite Heimerdinger mastery page, we'll say, and the reasoning behind it. So let's go here. I think utility this is probably one of the ones that I usually go. Savagery, obviously, for pushing, and it helps you last hit. Sometimes Heimerdinger's auto attacks and turrets don't really coincide and they don't really work together, and it kind of messes up your CS. This makes it a little bit smoother, a little bit easier. I like going Runic Affinity. I haven't really tried Secret Stash yet. It doesn't seem to be really, really good. But, you know, Runic Affinity just seems to be solid in almost every situation. If I'm getting blue buff, I'm getting the Rift Herald, if I'm getting Baron, all that stuff. Runic Affinity helps, and so I just always get it. One day I'll try Secret Stash, I'll get Biscuits. They just seem so expensive right now, they just don't seem worth it for me. Merciless is usually what I go for. I don't feel like I have mana problems, especially with getting a few Doran's rings and a mana regen item. You really don't need meditation in my opinion. Dangerous Game. Bandit, you can take it. You'll get 3 extra damage, or 3 extra gold every 5 seconds when you're autoing someone. But it's very hard to proc this every 5 seconds. It's kind of unreliable. And so I would just go Dangerous Game in this point. And then again, Precision versus Intelligence. I always go Intelligence, without a doubt. 5% flat cooldown reduction is really good. Plus, if you end up getting a blue buff and another CDR item in Boots of the City, you have 45% CDR. And Thunderlord's Decree, probably one of the best keystones for Heimerdinger out there. Your W alone, hitting 3 parts of the missile alone procs Thunderlord's Decree. So really, really good stuff. And since Heimerdinger's base HP regen is super, super high, it's the highest in the game, I always just go for the Recovery, Explorer, usually Explorer because I want to move around the map and push other lanes after I'm done pushing my lane, and then Runic Armor. Runic Armor here increases your regeneration by 8%. Yeah, it increases shields and healing and lifesteal, but your regeneration is the most important part here. Since Heimer's HP regen is one of the highest in the game, this actually makes quite a bit of a difference. And then Perseverance. Like I said earlier, guys, I would almost always go Insight unless you're one of those champions who has a very, very, very high base HP regen, in which Perseverance is probably the keystone you might want to get. 50% increased health regen, increased to 200% when below 20% HP. I think I've started one game with a Rejuve bead, and I had about 26 HP regen per 5 at level 1. So any poke that was thrown at me, any like harass, I would be able to run through the enemy's minion wave and just harass them, and my health would just regen right back up with all this HP regen in the defense tree. Sometimes, if I think that I'm not gonna fight in the laning phase, I would actually just go Insight on Heimerdinger. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I have to say. I've tried the 18 in Ferocity, didn't really like it. I didn't feel like you need that much damage. Yeah. So I hope that this video really helps you guys understand. I know it's a little bit long and a little bit dry, but I just want to talk about every single mastery point that are here and kind of share my thoughts and opinion on what I think about their effectiveness. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching.